Hello, I'm Natasha Hussein, and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online. Now, if you're based in Türkiye, like us on the Newsfeed team, you might have come across a little notification on Instagram in the last few days saying Threads will no longer be available in the country by the end of this month. While this temporary shutdown may come as a surprise to many, the decision was made last month as part of an ongoing investigation by the Turkish Competition Authority. It was probing whether Meta potentially abused its leading market position when it launched Threads. Meta shares Instagram user data with Threads, making it easy for new signups, but Turkish regulators have taken issue with that as Threads users weren't given the choice to opt in. Turkish regulators say that Meta acquired a vast, detailed database from its users across its platforms to solidify its market position and become a go-to for advertisers. With more money pouring in, Meta's apps have flourished, making it harder for others to attract advertisers and creating an entry barrier for rival newcomers. The Turkish Competition Authority says Meta's ecosystem of apps enables the tech giant to juggle its power and knowledge across platforms and use this expertise to dominate the market. Hence, the interim measure to shut down Threads in Turkey until the investigation concludes. Meta is complying with the decision and taking steps to minimize disruption. Users can choose to delete or deactivate their Threads profiles, and those choosing the latter can later reactivate their accounts if the platform returns to Turkey. While Meta says it will comply with the legal requirements, it disagrees with the Turkish regulator's decision and will appeal the measure. And this isn't Meta's first trouble with antitrust laws in Turkey. In 2022, the tech giant was fined over $18 million for combining user data across its platforms. Yet, Meta didn't change its ways, and since January this year, the Turkish authorities are fining the company an additional $160,000 daily for non-compliance with the previous order. To analyze this further, we're joined by Dicle Yurakul. She's Innova Neurolab's director and an associate professor of marketing at Altınbaş University. Thank you, Dicle, so much for joining us today. Now, once again, action taken against Meta for abusing its dominant market position. But what sets this case apart is the focus on the sharing of user data, huh?
Well, as you know, the last month the Competition Authority issued this injunction against Meta due to the suspicions that it was abusing its dominant position by integrating Threads and Instagram applications. And the reason for that is that Meta combines the data of users who create Threads profiles based on their Instagram accounts, but without providing users with a confirmation option. And it was evaluated that it would cause irreparable damage until the investigation was completed, so the decision was executed immediately. And since Meta has been operating in the market for many years, actually it has a comprehensive and detailed data accumulation, and the size and the diversity of the data that Meta holds basically attracts the advertisers, which is the background of the decision of TCA. And back in December last year, the TCA announced that it was examining Threads, which, given that the issues data from IG, that it shares data with IG, and this could be a violation of Turkish competition law around the sharing data between apps. And the TCA is now pushing to enforce the separation between the two platforms while it continues that investigation, which means that Meta will need to switch off Threads in Turkey for the time being.
So this Threads pullout in Turkey, how many users are we talking about? How many people are impacted?
Well, according to data, over 1 million users are in Turkey as reported, but this is not the number of active users, and therefore I cannot say that it's reached the desired popularity yet in Turkey. And we know that the Meta is quite ambitious about this, trying to reach the numbers around the world to 1 billion users. And currently it's around 130 million users worldwide. And as we know, since Meta has been operating in the market for many years, banning Threads will not actually stop them from collecting or sharing the data among the different platforms. And I don't think that this will be an effective way of anti-competition, since the rest of the platforms will be working in Turkey and they will keep sharing data amongst And this means that Meta will keep its power as the market leader, as the most preferred platform for advertisers. And this basically is not matching with the reasons that TCA is providing right now in terms of anti-competition.
Just one last question, though. I feel like we're running out of time. Now, the Turkish regulators' move against Meta for its monopolistic practices mirror that of the US and the EU. Do you foresee more action against Meta like this globally?
Well, most probably, because we know that, as we mentioned, Meta is quite ambitious about the numbers that it will desire, the required numbers for how many users will use Threads in the future. And if Threads grows to billion users, so as the Meta projects, it will also be interesting to see whether other regions in the world can take a closer look to the app and how it further expands Meta's digital and market dominance. So I think that the regulatory battle between Meta and the European Union and the other regions of the world will continue. And it is not limited to the EU, although EU is, fining hitting the company with fines over $267 million due to WhatsApp GDPR breaches in EU. But I think that this kind of battles will continue as the number of threat users goes up.
Thanks, Dicle, so much for sharing those insights with Newsfeed today.
Thank you.
The first batch of jurors in Donald Trump's historic criminal trial have been chosen faster than expected, accelerating a crucial phase of the case that was speculated to take weeks. But jury selection in the hush money case has been painstaking. Dozens of potential jurors have been excused for saying they likely can't be impartial. And the judge in the case even reprimanded Trump for intimidating a prospective juror in the courtroom. But as Andy reports from D.C., the judge says if jury selection continues at this pace, opening arguments in the first criminal trial of a former U.S. president could begin next week.
The hush money trial for former President Donald Trump is moving along much faster than expected, with over half the jury picked by the end of the day on Tuesday for his trial, which accuses him of falsifying business records in order to cover up an alleged affair before the 2016 presidential election. Now, on social media, as you might imagine, lots of comments.
After years of anticipation, the first criminal trial of a former president has begun, and by all accounts, it is absolutely riveting.
He looked like he was nodding off, and at one point, in a pretty true, tell that he was falling asleep, his head nodded down, and then he sort of jolted back up at one point.
He's snoring. He's doing the honk shoe. He's doing the me, 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 me.
Could you be a fair and impartial juror for Donald Trump? At least half of the potential jurors on day one said they couldn't.
I could never be a juror in Donald Trump's trial. I absolutely could not be impartial.
Now, it's hard finding enough jurors who have the time to serve. But the real challenge is finding jurors who have never said anything bad about Trump.
Part of the day was spent examining prospective jurors' old social media posts about Trump while the former president looked on. One juror was dismissed for having posted, "Lock him up."
Supporters of Trump really echoing what he's been saying, calling this an unfair trial and a witch hunt. But one posting something that even Trump himself is not allowed to say, at least not publicly, that the jurors are partisan hacks. Critics of Trump also sounding off.
Almost everybody in America, Democrat and Republican, black and white, would be upset with Obama.
One saying that Trump's efforts to delay this trial is the epitome of white privilege, and that if President Obama had committed any of the crimes that Trump is accused of, well, Obama's political career would have ended long ago. Now, some comedians as well on social media, one pointing out Trump's penchant for wearing orange spray tan on his face and showing what he said was a picture of the courtroom artist's toolkit filled with those orange sketching pencils. Beyond that, the judge and the prosecution and the defense attorney really scouring the previous social media posts of any prospective jurors. Jurors who have posted really bad things about Trump in the past, well, they are probably getting kicked off the jury pool. But others, even some who have just posted things in support of President Biden, well, that's a bit of a gray area, and in some cases are being left on the jury pool. It's really a matter for the judge to decide.
Meanwhile, things aren't exactly smooth sailing for Donald Trump's social media app Truth Social. The stock of its parent company, Trump Media, continued to tumble on Tuesday after Truth Social announced it's going into streaming. Truth Social stock, which is majority owned by Trump, is down more than 70% from an all-time high on March 26th. The company is still worth billions of dollars, though, but it's struggling to make money. Trump Media lost $58 million last year and made just $4.1 million in revenue. That probably explains why it wants to expand into streaming, although it faces an uphill battle as streaming is notoriously cost-intensive, which has seen media giants like Disney struggle to turn a profit. Remember when it seemed like every celebrity had their own fragrance? Britney Spears, Jennifer Lopez, and Paris Hilton, they all had one in the early 2000s. And fast forward to today, and it's not just about scents anymore. Now, it's all about beauty brands, and celebrities are diving in head first. From skincare to makeup, it's a revolution that's changing the game, and maybe even our beauty routines forever. Lara explores the boom and also the growing fatigue among consumers.
They're not just on screen or stage, but also in our makeup bags and even skincare routines. Having actresses, singers, models, and athletes as beauty brand ambassadors is nothing new. But in recent years, more celebrities have ventured out to create their own namesake companies.
This is a way, I think, to have like an additional revenue stream. Okay, fine. The other thing that I would say is it's a way to keep your name relevant.
In the past 30 years, more than 100 beauty brands have been launched by celebrities and influencers. And who can blame them? The beauty industry was valued at a staggering $580 billion in 2023, driving more celebrities to capitalize on the craze. And celeb-backed brands were the fastest growing overall, about 3 times the rate of prestige makeup firms. What sets these brands apart is the face. By associating themselves with the glamour of celebrities, these companies sell the idea of achieving celebrity beauty with their products. And since their success relies heavily on the celebrities' fan base and influence on social media, it gives them a head start with a ready-made customer base even before launch. But is fame enough to stay in the game? Surprisingly, only a few celebrity brands truly shine.
Number one, obviously, is Fenty Beauty. I think the intentionality and the effort that Rihanna has put into the shade and the complexion, of course, is very personal to me. And I think you feel from a creative perspective, her, whether it is her signing off on every single detail versus like the people behind the brand making sure it feels Rihanna. I think that's the most important thing, and it does. Number two is hands down Rare Beauty. I think it's honestly tied for me with Rihanna. Everything down from the packaging to make it friendly for people who have arthritis. Really, more than anything, is her dedication and her efforts towards mental health organizations.
While celebrities may sway them to make a purchase, consumers ultimately value quality and authenticity over a famous face endorsing a product.
If you have not built credibility in the space that you're launching a brand with, and you have no expertise or experience in beauty, in skincare, in fashion, in technology, the audience that you've built up as a celebrity is not going to trust your qualifications and experience launching a brand in that space.
Brad Pitt, Machine Gun Kelly, everybody is involved that has skincare, makeup.
Didn't Scarlett Johansson just come out with something too?
Yeah.
That screams, I don't know what I'm doing, and a lab has pre-made formulas, so I'm gonna slap my name on it.
Why is it like that everybody and their mother this year and last felt the need? I don't want what you're having to offer.
The rising number of celebrity brands also poses challenges to other players in the industry.
They are making it impossible for small entrepreneurs. How is anyone who is not from extreme wealth, has extreme access, how are they able to start a brand? They can't compete with these places.
Despite all the backlash and criticism, the trend shows no signs of slowing down, with more celebs than ever breaking into beauty.
And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.